Have you ever looked back on your life and wondered if the people you love truly see your worth? Maybe you sacrificed time, energy, even parts of your own dreams for someone else, yet felt invisible in return. It is a quiet kind of pain, one that sits in the heart and whispers late at night. Am I really valued? Do they see me for who I am or only for what I can give? If you have ever carried that question, you're not alone. Generations before us wrestled with the same doubts, and centuries ago the Stoics left us timeless wisdom that still speaks directly to this struggle. Life, after all, is not measured only by the things we say, but by the silent actions we take each day. Think about it. When you look back on those who truly touched your life, was it their words that stayed with you or the way they showed up for you consistently, quietly, without asking for applause? That is the power of silent actions. They reveal character. They reveal dignity. They reveal true worth. Today, I want to share with you 9 silent actions that carry extraordinary weight in relationships. These are not tricks, not empty advice, and not the superficial gestures we often hear in popular talk shows. Instead, these are rooted in Stoic philosophy, a way of life that has endured for over 2,000 years. The Stoics believed that true freedom and strength come not from controlling others, but from mastering ourselves, our choices, our responses, and the values we live by. Each of these 9 actions is simple, but do not mistake simplicity for weakness. They are silent because they don't require shouting, manipulation, or drama. Yet when practiced with intention, they speak louder than any speech could. They silently demand respect. They inspire admiration. And most importantly, they remind you that your worth does not depend on anyone's opinion. It is already within you. So, as we begin this journey together, I invite you to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. Imagine how your life might feel if you carried yourself with dignity, if you stopped chasing approval, and if you began to value yourself the way a Stoic philosopher would advise. By the end of this video, you will have 9 powerful actions to quietly but firmly show your loved one and yourself your true worth. Let us begin. Understand your true worth. There comes a moment in life when we realize that chasing validation from others is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. No matter how much you give, it never feels enough, and you are left drained and questioning your own value. Many of us know this feeling all too well. Perhaps it was after being ignored by someone you cared deeply for, or after years of sacrificing your own happiness just to keep the peace. The Stoics would remind us that our worth is never measured by the attention of others, but by the principles we live by. Imagine yourself as a rare gemstone. Not everyone has the eyes to see its brilliance, but that does not make the gem any less precious. Its value remains whether it is displayed in a museum or hidden in a cave. You too carry that same worth. Rejection, indifference, or neglect from others does not reduce the treasure that you are. What matters most is how you see yourself, how you conduct your life, and how you honor your own values. Modern research agrees. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who anchor their self-worth in internal qualities like kindness, honesty, and resilience report greater life satisfaction and healthier relationships. In other words, when you know who you are and stand firm in it, you create a foundation that no one else can shake. So take a quiet moment each day to reflect. Ask yourself, not, do others value me, but instead, am I living in alignment with my own values? The more you root your worth in what you can control, your actions, your integrity, your choices, the freer you become from the ups and downs of outside opinions. And here's the truth. When you recognize your true worth, others will begin to see it too. Respect begins within. Present yourself with dignity. There is a quiet strength in the way we carry ourselves, one that speaks louder than clothes, titles, or possessions. Too often, people bend over backward to impress others, changing how they dress, what they say, even hiding what they truly enjoy, only to feel emptier in the end. Dignity, the Stoics remind us, is not about pretending to be perfect or cold. It is about honoring yourself enough to live with authenticity no matter who is watching. Think of two students giving a presentation. One dazzles with flashy slides, big words, and exaggerated gestures. The other speaks calmly, confidently, without trying to be more than they are. Who leaves the stronger impression? Most often, it is the one who is genuine and composed. The same is true in relationships. When you present yourself with dignity, you tell the world, I know my value, and I don't need to beg for your approval. Research in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that self-respect strongly predicts commitment and satisfaction in romantic partnerships. In other words, when you treat yourself with respect, others are more likely to follow. Conversely, constant self-criticism silently signals that it is acceptable for others to treat you the same way. But when you value your time, your energy, and your emotions, you send a clear message. I deserve respect, and I expect to be treated accordingly. Living with dignity does not mean perfection. We all stumble. We all face awkward moments. What matters is how we rise. Do you collapse under pressure, or do you steady yourself and keep going? The Stoics would say that dignity is measured not by appearances, but by your response to life's trials. When you choose composure over desperation, truth over pretense, and boundaries over fear, you step into a way of living that naturally draws respect. So ask yourself, what would it look like today to treat yourself with dignity? Maybe it is setting a boundary with kindness. Maybe it is speaking honestly instead of agreeing just to keep the peace. Small choices shape the larger picture. And when you consistently honor your own worth, you teach others how to honor it too. The power of nonverbal boundaries. Sometimes the loudest message we send in relationships is delivered without words. The way you manage your time, your presence, and even your silence can speak volumes. The Stoics believe that self-control is the root of dignity, and one of the clearest ways to express it is through nonverbal boundaries, those quiet signals that say, I value myself, and I expect you to value me too. Think of availability. When someone is constantly at another's beck and call, always saying yes, always present, no matter the cost, they eventually lose their sense of mystery and respect. Human nature teaches us that what is always available tends to be taken for granted. The same applies to relationships. If you give away all your time and energy freely, people may begin to see them as less precious. Setting limits silently by choosing carefully when to give your time and when to hold it back is a powerful form of communication. Nonverbal cues extend beyond time. They include posture, eye contact, tone of voice, and how you carry yourself. Research from the University of California found that more than 60% of first impressions come not from words, but from body language and other nonverbal signals. This means that your dignity is often communicated before you ever say a word. Walking with composure, making calm eye contact, or keeping a respectful distance all express that you know your worth without demanding recognition. It is important to note that boundaries are not about manipulation or playing games. They are about self-respect. Being fully present when you choose to share time with someone, but unapologetically focusing on yourself when you need space is not selfish, it is balanced. The Stoics would remind us that peace of mind requires discernment, knowing what deserves your energy and what does not. So reflect on this. How are you using your silence, your presence, and your absence to communicate value? When you stop giving yourself away too freely, you begin to teach others that your time, energy, and emotions are treasures to be handled with care, and that silent lesson often speaks louder than any words could. Be ready to walk away. One of the hardest truths to accept in relationships is that sometimes love alone is not enough. Many stay in situations that drain them not because they are truly happy, but because they are afraid of being alone, afraid of change, or afraid of what the future might hold. Yet the Stoics would tell us that real strength is not in clinging, but in knowing when to let go. To walk away from what diminishes your spirit is not weakness. It is wisdom. We have all seen this play out. A friend who stays in a toxic relationship hoping endlessly that things will improve. A relative who sacrifices their peace just to avoid rocking the boat. Perhaps even you at some point remained where you knew deep down you did not belong. Walking away can feel terrifying, like stepping into darkness. But here is the paradox. By leaving what harms you, you open the door to something better. Modern psychology supports this Stoic insight. A study in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that people who released unhealthy attachments reported lower stress and higher self-confidence. Letting go is not giving up, it is clearing the clutter so that growth can happen. The moment you choose dignity over desperation, you reclaim your power. Walking away does not always mean dramatic exits or harsh goodbyes. Sometimes it is quiet, a simple decision to stop engaging in what erodes your well-being. The Stoics taught that we cannot control others, only ourselves. By choosing to step away, you demonstrate courage, self-respect, and trust in life's unfolding. So ask yourself, what situations, what relationships are no longer serving your growth? It is not about coldness or indifference. It is about loving yourself enough to refuse what steals your peace. And when you finally make that choice, something remarkable happens. The weight lifts, your spirit steadies, and space opens for relationships that truly honor who you are. Boundaries shown through actions. It is one thing to talk about boundaries, but another to live them. Words can be reassuring, but they mean little if they are not backed by action. The Stoics emphasized that virtue is proven through deeds, not declarations. In relationships, this truth becomes even more powerful. Boundaries are not about what you say you will tolerate, but how you respond when those limits are tested. Consider this: someone might declare, "I won't accept dishonesty," but the real measure comes the moment they face a lie. Do they ignore it, hoping it will disappear, or do they calmly address it, showing that honesty truly matters? Boundaries whispered in words may fade. Boundaries lived out in action endure. Each time you uphold a standard, you reinforce the message that you respect yourself and you invite others to do the same. The American Psychological Association reported that healthy boundaries are strongly linked with emotional safety and relationship satisfaction. People who act on their limits, not just speak about them, report higher confidence and lower stress. In other words, following through is the key. Without action, even the clearest words lose weight. This does not mean reacting with anger or hostility. Stoic boundaries are calm, steady, and consistent. They do not lash out. They stand firm. If a friend repeatedly cancels on you, you may decide to stop overextending yourself for them. And if a partner disregards your needs, you might choose to step back instead of arguing endlessly. These actions speak quietly but unmistakably. I value myself, and I will not settle for less. So ask yourself, where in your life are you merely talking about boundaries, and where are you living them? Every small choice, whether you protect your time, your energy, or your peace of mind, teaches others how to treat you. Silent actions build respect in ways words never could. Actions over words. Words are easy. Promises flow freely. But actions, those require effort, sacrifice, and consistency. In relationships, it is tempting to hold on to what someone says, even when their behavior tells a different story. The Stoics would caution us, do not be deceived by words alone. True character is revealed by what a person does not what they claim. Think back to a time when someone promised to call and never did, or spoke of a future together but failed to take even the smallest steps toward it. At first, their words may have warmed your heart, but over time the mismatch between their language and their actions created disappointment. Stoicism teaches us to see clearly in such moments when actions do not match words. Reality is speaking louder than rhetoric. Research in personality and individual differences found that broken promises and inconsistent behavior are among the fastest ways trust is destroyed. People are wired to notice discrepancies between speech and action, and when they sense this misalignment, confidence erodes quickly. Trust, once broken, is difficult to repair. This is why actions matter so deeply. When someone consistently shows up, keeps their word, and demonstrates care in quiet ways, they build a foundation of trust far stronger than any declaration could achieve. Conversely, when actions fail to match, no amount of sweet talk can cover the cracks. The Stoic approach is simple but firm. Judge by deeds, not declarations. So ask yourself, are the people in your life proving their words with action? And just as importantly, are you? The most powerful way to invite honesty and reliability from others is to live it yourself. Actions speak not just to others, but to your own soul. When your deeds align with your values, you embody the very integrity you seek in those around you. Healthy skepticism. Hope can be a beautiful thing, but unchecked hope can blind us. In relationships, it is natural to want to believe the best about someone new, to take their words at face value, and to let excitement carry us forward. Yet the Stoics remind us that wisdom lies in balance, holding both openness and discernment. Healthy skepticism is not about distrust. It is about protecting your heart with clear eyes. We have all seen how easy it is to be swept away. Perhaps you met someone who said all the right things, promises of loyalty, dreams of a shared future, sweet words that seemed irresistible. But as time passed, the reality did not match the vision. The Stoic approach would advise patience, wait, observe, and let actions prove character before handing over your trust. Psychological research supports this ancient wisdom. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who practiced thoughtful skepticism were less likely to be manipulated and more likely to form stable long-term relationships. Skepticism, when guided by reason rather than fear, acts as a shield against disappointment and regret. This does not mean interrogating every word or doubting every gesture. Healthy skepticism is gentle but firm. It is choosing to pause before diving in, asking yourself, do their actions align with their words? Do I see consistency over time? This reflective pause allows emotions to cool just enough for clarity to emerge. So as you navigate relationships, remember that balance is the key. Be open, yes, but be observant. Be hopeful, but stay grounded. When you pair a generous heart with a discerning mind, you protect yourself without closing yourself off. And in doing so, you create space for love that is not only passionate, but also enduring and true. The courage to say no. One of the simplest yet hardest words in any language is no. In relationships, many avoid it out of fear of rejection, fear of conflict, or fear of losing someone they care about. But the Stoics would remind us that living with integrity means honoring your values above temporary comfort. Saying no when necessary is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. Think of a time you agreed to something that went against your own heart. Perhaps you said yes to plans you did not want or accepted treatment that quietly hurt your dignity. At the moment, it may have seemed easier than facing discomfort. Yet afterward, you felt smaller, less authentic, as if you betrayed yourself. Each time we compromise our values to please others, we teach them it is acceptable to disregard our boundaries. Modern psychology echoes this Stoic lesson. A study in the Journal of Counseling Psychology found that people who practice assertiveness, expressing their true feelings, and saying no when needed, experience greater satisfaction in their relationships and lower levels of anxiety. Courageously setting limits protects not only your peace of mind, but also the health of your connections. Of course, saying no does not mean shutting others out or being harsh. It is about clarity and honesty. You can decline with kindness, explain your reasons calmly, and still stand firm. The strength lies not in aggression, but in consistency. When your no is steady, it becomes a shield against disrespect and a guidepost for authentic love. So reflect, where in your life do you need the courage to say no? Perhaps it is in refusing to carry burdens that are not yours. Perhaps it is in declining a request that drains you. Each time you choose self-respect over people-pleasing, you reinforce your dignity. And in doing so, you invite others to love not the mask you wear, but the real steadfast you. Never chase, always value. There is a deep temptation in relationships to chase after someone who begins to pull away. The silence feels unbearable, the distance frightening, and so we run after them, hoping our pursuit will restore what is slipping away. Yet the Stoics would say, why chase what is not within your control? Love built on pursuit quickly becomes desperation, and desperation rarely earns respect. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. The same is true when we chase. Each frantic message, each attempt to convince or cling only pushes the other further away. What begins as love soon feels like imbalance, with one person always running and the other always retreating. True worth, the Stoics remind us, is not about forcing others to stay. It is about valuing yourself enough to let go when needed. Modern research on attachment supports this wisdom. A study in attachment and human development found that anxious pursuit behaviors often create greater insecurity and reduce balance in relationships. By contrast, those who maintained self-respect and independence attracted healthier, more stable partners. Value draws value. Desperation repels it. This lesson does not mean becoming cold or uncaring. It means holding dignity in your posture and peace in your heart. When someone begins to drift, you do not beg, you step back. You trust that if they truly value you, they will move closer. And if they do not, you still stand firm, knowing your worth is not diminished by their absence. So ask yourself, are you chasing someone who is walking away, or are you valuing yourself enough to stand still with grace? When you stop running after others, you give space for genuine love to grow. And more importantly, you remind yourself of a timeless truth: the person who must never be abandoned is you. As we reach the end of this journey, pause for a moment and consider what ties all 9 lessons together. Each one has pointed us back to the same truth: your worth does not depend on the approval of others, but on the choices you make, the values you uphold, and the quiet strength with which you live. The Stoics believed that freedom begins within, and these silent actions are the living proof. Think about it. When you understand your true worth, you stop bending yourself to fit into places you do not belong. When you present yourself with dignity, you raise the standard for how others treat you. When you honor boundaries, not just in words, but in action, you create an atmosphere where respect can grow. And when you are willing to walk away, say no, or refuse to chase you, reclaim your power, protecting your peace and your dignity. Modern science and ancient philosophy meet at the same conclusion: people who live by these principles enjoy stronger relationships and greater inner peace. They are less tossed around by the changing opinions of others because they know where their anchor lies. They embody a quiet confidence that draws admiration not by demanding it, but by living it. So let this be your reminder: you're not defined by who stays or who leaves, by praise or rejection, by silence or applause. You're defined by the integrity with which you walk your path. Each day, through small silent choices, you tell the world and yourself who you are. And here's the beautiful paradox: when you stop striving so hard to be valued, people begin to value you more. Respect follows those who respect themselves. Love gravitates toward those who know their worth. And peace settles in the hearts of those who live with courage, dignity, and self-control. So carry these lessons forward. Let them guide not just your relationships, but the way you face life itself. The world may not always notice, but your soul will. And that, in the end, is the truest measure of a life well lived.